Hello everyone, back to today's second video. So we're in a weekend forecast and you find the video out on the homepage. There's also a written version. You get to that via the buttons at the top of the page. It's going to be quite an interesting week's weather, starting off very, very spring-like. It might turn a bit more unsettled later on, but I'll let you look at weekend forecast and see for yourself what's going on. This is the March ENSO update. So we're going to be seeing what's happening in the equatorial Pacific Ocean in terms of ENSO, and particularly looking to see whether we are still on course to develop potentially El Nino as we're going through into the summer. So I'm going to bring you up to date with what's been happening over the past few weeks, and then we'll have a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. We will move on and have a look at some models later on in the video. Before I get on with the latest ENSO update though, just to say that most of the websites you see in this video, you can find a link to them on the links page, so you can check the websites and the charts out for yourself if you would like to do that. Right, let's get on, and we're going to start off first of all with this chart. This is the cold and warm events, or cold warm episodes by season chart from NOAA. This lists all of the El Nino and La Nina events, the warm and cold events that have occurred right way back to 1950. So, for example, here we are in 1950, 1951, with an El Nino that lasted throughout the whole of 1950. That went on into 1951, but interestingly, it flipped to El Nino in the second half of 1951, and that continued into the start of 1952, and another El Nino there through 1953, and so on. You just notice that the blue numbers on these charts there, the cold events, the temperature anomalies that are below, or at or below 0.5 degrees below average, and the red numbers in the boxes, those are the El Nino, the warm events. Right, let's scroll down to the very latest, and this is where we are right now. Been a very interesting couple of years. So 2015, of course, we had El Nino going on. It started in 2014, actually, the El Nino event. That 2014, 2015 was a very, very weak one, and then it really took off into the second half of 2015 when we had the Super Nino getting going, and that lasted into the start of 2016 last year before fading back. And as we announced last month, we did indeed have a La Nina. We did indeed have a cold event later on in 2016. And it's these blue numbers just here that tell us the tale. So we reached the required threshold for La Nina. We went at 2 or below 0.5 degrees below average. And we did it over count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tri-monthly periods. That's what you have to do to get either a La Nina or an El Nino event designated. You have to deviate by 0.5 degrees or more, either above or below average. You have to do it over 5 tri-monthly periods. We just did it with the La Nina of 2016. But it was such a close run thing, because actually we've got the first number for 2017. This is for the tri-monthly period of December, January, February 2016, 2017, just here. And actually, it comes in below the required threshold. Look at that. It comes in at minus 0.4. So it doesn't quite reach that half a degree threshold that you have to reach in order to get El Nino or La Nina designated. So actually what that is telling us is that at the start of 2017, or even at the end of 2016, but certainly at the start of 2017, we drifted back from what was already an exceptionally weak La Nina event. We drifted back to ENSO neutral. Where we are now is very much in ENSO neutral. Now, if any of these numbers, and they do tend to get altered a little bit over time, if any of these numbers are reduced, it'll mean that actually in hindsight, we didn't have a La Nina. At the moment, we are firmly in a La Nina event there at the end of 2016, there's enough. There's the 5 tri-monthly numbers, so there's enough of those, and they're all at or below 0.5 degrees below average. But it's just this one I'm a little bit dubious about just here. It's minus 0.6. That's very, very close to the threshold of being half a degree below average. So if that was to be changed ever so slightly, if it's be tweaked ever so slightly, a little bit more data, a little bit more information comes in a few weeks or months, and they was to move that back to something like this number, for example, minus 0.4, then that would mean La Nina is taken away. These blue numbers will go back to black, and it will go back to just being an ENSO neutral, albeit on the colder side. It will go back to being an ENSO neutral period at the end of 2016 through the winter 2016-2017, for example. That is ENSO neutral, just there, minus 0.3. That's the reason I'm a bit curious. That's quite a big jump from that tri-monthly period just there, the tri-monthly period of June, July, August, which was minus 0.3. That's quite a big drop down to the next tri-monthly period, July, August, September, which goes down to minus 0.6. So if there's a correction there, if they've overdone that too much and they have to pull it back closer to average, which is anywhere sort of from minus 0.0 to minus 0.4. If they was to do that, then these blue numbers would disappear. They go back to black, and it would just be ENSO neutral. At the moment, we did have a very, very weak, almost the weakest recorded La Nina on record. We did have that at the end of 2016, but we've got to watch out, I think, over the next few months. Of course, I'll be keeping an eye on these charts. We've got to watch out to see whether that is changed at all. There's always corrections going on with these. You wouldn't really believe it. But, for example, 1962, I'm off on a tangent here, and I better get on in a moment. But I just want to talk about 62, 63. Very interesting. At times on these charts, the winter of 62, 63, which is just here, at times on these charts, that winter, the severe winter, the coldest winter since 1740 in the UK, at times that has been, on these charts, a weak La Nina winter. And you see, it was ENSO neutral on the cold side. That's what they've got at the moment. So, for example, these tri-monthly periods just here, minus 0.2, minus 0.3, minus 0.3, minus 0.4, just on the cusp of it. And then here, minus 0.4, minus 0.2, and then it goes back closer to ENSO neutral on the positive side. It actually goes into a weak El Nino later on in 1963. But at one point, and it wasn't that long ago, just a couple of years ago, these numbers, just here and just here, they were actually blue. And it looked like the latest update was that, a couple of years ago, was that it was a really weak La Nina winter. But they've changed it, they've tweaked it, they've pulled it back closer to neutral again. And so now the winter 62-63 is just designated as an ENSO neutral winter. When you get these events that are so close to neutral, they are subject to change and to being altered ever so slightly. And just slight adjustments in these numbers will take you either from a really weak El Nino or a really weak La Nina back to ENSO neutral. That has happened in the past with 62-63, which at the moment, it might be changed again at some point in the future. At the moment, NOAA is saying that was an ENSO neutral winter. Right, I've gone off for far too long about that. Sorry about that. All of this stuff fascinates me. I hope you wasn't too bored with that. Right, let's get on with the latest. So this is how the sea surf temperature anomalies were looking a month ago when we did the ENSO update for February. Now, of course, this is the area we're interested in, the Pacific Ocean, and we've got Peru over here, Indonesia over here. This line just here is an equator, and the colours are the temperature anomalies of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. So what we had last month was a warming signal over towards Peru, the eastern Equatorial Pacific, and the fading, very weak anyway, but the fading signal of La Nina that we probably had over the winter. Let's have a look at the very latest sea surface temperature anomaly map from NOAA, and this is it. There's not really been a huge amount of change. So if we go back to February, that's how things were looking in February. Come into March, the very latest, that's how things are looking in March. So what do you think? I don't think there's much change at all really there. I think that this warming over towards the eastern Pacific Ocean, which is what we're really interested in, because that might be the start of El Nino coming back. I don't think that's advanced much over the past month. I'll show you the reason for that in a moment, but that hasn't really changed all that much. It is still there. It is still significantly warmer than average in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean, particularly towards Peru. Those are quite shallow waters, and they are subject to changes in temperature. But in the deeper waters, which is sort of this part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean just here, I don't think there's been a huge amount of change. If anything, we probably have weakened that signature of La Nina a little bit more. Again, that is the leftover signature of La Nina just there from February. We've probably reduced that a little bit more, but overall, I don't think it has changed a great deal the situation in terms of the sea surface temperature anomalies over the past month. Again, notice this cold water that we've got going on up here. It's a long way away from the equatorial Pacific, but it probably does have an impact. That is very cold water that is now sitting in the northeast part of the Pacific Ocean. It's in contrast to what was going on 2015 when the last El Nino event really gathered and took off. And it could well be that because the northern Pacific Ocean is in a colder state compared to a couple of years ago, El Nino will have more of a struggle to get going this year compared to a couple of years ago when we had the Super Nino. We'll see what the models have got to say about that in a moment. This is quite interesting. This is from the updated PDF from NOAA. Every week they update, do a PDF update with loads and loads of information crammed in terms of what's going on in the Pacific Ocean, in the equatorial Pacific, in terms of La Nina and El Nino. Now, I can't go through all of it. I'll just scroll up a little bit and show you all of the information that you can get with this, although I can't really show you that well because I've zoomed in. So, but there is loads of information with that, and you can find the link to the PDF on the links page at Gather Office. Remember, you will need Adobe Reader to be able to open the PDF file, but it's always worth having a look at this updated information. What I'm focusing on here within this PDF PowerPoint presentation is the subsurface temperature anomaly. So this is at depth in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. Again, this what we look at there is sort of the surface temperature anomalies, but this is going deeper down into the equatorial Pacific Ocean. And you can see that, well, this orange and red area over here, that is the warm temperature anomalies that we've got over towards Peru in the eastern equatorial Pacific. So we know most definitely and definitively we have got that warm water, or warm than average water, sitting in the equatorial Pacific. Hasn't really developed much over the past month, but it is very much there, and it's above average. But going out further towards the central part of the equatorial Pacific, which is all this sort of area just here, you see that overall and at depth, yes, we have got warmer than average water, but it all looks rather flimsy, hasn't really got its act together yet and started moving up towards the surface. So, whilst it is above average in terms of those subsurface temperature anomalies at the moment, I think we can say that the chance of El Nino is growing, it's increasing, it is there, but we need to see these warmer than average subsurface temperature anomalies really intensifying and becoming a greater body, if you like. It all looks rather flimsy, haven't really got their act together yet. Those warm and average subsurface temperature anomalies. We'll be keeping an eye on this over the next 2 or 3 months to see whether these subsurface temperature anomalies start to increase and start to develop into a greater body, such as what we have over here, if you like, that it is a very well developed area of warmer than average subsurface temperature anomalies. Excuse me, but at the moment, most of this does look rather flimsy. We'll keep an eye on that, of course. And now we're going to have a look at the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index. And this is really the reason that the warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies in the eastern equatorial Pacific that we have got haven't really progressed over the past month. So let's go back to February again. That's how the equatorial Pacific was looking in February. That's how it looks in March. Not much of a progression of these warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies. And we know subsurface wise as well, the warmer than average subsurface temperature anomalies are looking rather disorganised. The reason is the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index. Now, this is just an index that's reflecting the state of the atmosphere in the southern Pacific Ocean. It's not driving anything, same as all the other indexes, the NAO, the AO, the PDO, QBO, whatever index you're looking at. None of these indexes are drivers of the weather. All they're doing is telling you what the weather, what the atmosphere is doing. So when the SOI, the Southern Oscillation Index, is negative, it tells you that the atmosphere is reflective of El Nino. It's reflective of a warm event in terms of the pressure distribution from Darwin in northern Australia to Tahiti in the southern Pacific. Now, when the SOI is positive, it tells you that the atmosphere in those areas, again, Darwin and Tahiti, the atmosphere in that area is reflective of La Nina. It's reflective of a cold event. And to get these events going, you always have to have the atmosphere and the oceans coupling up. So we know we've got the warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies in the eastern equatorial Pacific. We know at depth there is some, though quite disorganised, but there is some warmer than average subsurface temperature anomalies. So the Pacific Ocean appears to be wanting to move towards an El Nino, but to do it, it's got to get the atmosphere to couple with it, if you like, and then the two will hook up and the whole thing will steamroller. Now, at the start of March, we did have a couple of days of negative numbers. The first and second was down to -4 and -3 with the SOI. So that's reflective of a weak El Nino setup. But look what happens as we go further down. On the 4th of March, the SOI is at +10. The 5th of March, the SOI is at +25. The 6th of March, the SOI is up +22. Those days are reflective of a La Nina, a cold event type setup in the Southern Ocean. Now we come further down, we get some more negativity on the 10th and the 11th. We go down to -12, -13. These are preliminary numbers, by the way, from the Bureau of Meteorology in Australia. They are subject to change. They don't get changed all that much. So we can say on the 10th and 11th of March, definitively the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean was reflective of El Nino. But come further down towards recent days, so we come to the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day, for example, and we're at +10. 18th of March, we're at +11, back into a La Nina, a cold event type setup. And the latest, we've come down 22nd of March at +11, 23rd of March at +6, 24th of March at +5. So at the moment, the atmosphere in the Southern Ocean, this is a little bit different to what happened in February when we did have some very negative numbers within the SOI, and that allowed all that warm water to develop in the Pacific Ocean, in the equatorial Pacific Ocean, because in February the atmosphere was quite reflective of El Nino, so the ocean and the atmosphere was sort of coupling up a bit in February. In March, it's not been the case. The atmosphere, if anything, has been fighting against the ocean. And that is the reason that the warmer than average sea surface temperature anomalies in the equatorial Pacific have not took off. They haven't strengthened over the past month. They've rather stalled, particularly over towards the Peruvian side. So the SOI is sort of still reflective, or is kind of reflective of a cold event. The ocean, the Pacific Ocean itself, wants to produce, or move towards anyway, a warm event. What do the models think are going to happen? This is the CFS V2. This is the latest update from the CFS. It's still going for El Nino. So that's sort of the headline, I suppose. This is where we are right now with CFS V2 ensemble plume. We're in ENSO neutral, bit on the warmer than average side of ENSO neutral. The black dash line here is the trend line of the model. You see over the months, the dates on the bottom, that's April, that's July, that's October, that's January 2018. You see that over the rest of the year it is lifting up into El Nino territory. This is anything above this number just here, 0.5. That is ENSO territory. So it is going into ENSO territory, but it isn't lifting things off into a Super Nino. So that's the first point. It's not doing something like going up here. It may go in that direction because it's still very early days, actually. It's only March. We've still got to get over the spring predictability barrier before these models really understand what's happening. So at the moment, there's no sign of a Super Nino. It's just lifting things up into solidly moderate El Nino territory. That's this sort of area just here around 1 to 1.5 degrees above average. That is proper sort of moderate El Nino type territory. The colours on these are interesting. The red lines here, they are the oldest members of the CFS ensembles. The blue lines, they are the most recent ensemble runs. And you see, there's a few blue lines that are actually keeping things in ENSO neutral territory, which is this part of the chart just here. They look like they're outliers, particularly in comparison to those earlier ensemble runs, which all went up into sort of moderate El Nino territory. But it's just perhaps the model responding to the stalling that's taking place over the past month in those warmer than average seaside temperature on its gathering pace, and probably it's responding to what's happening with the SOI as well. But at the moment, as it stands, the CFS is still going for El Nino, albeit it's a moderate El Nino. ECMWF is very similar. So again, this is the Nino plume forecast from the ECMWF model. Again, this is where we are right now, solidly in ENSO neutral territory. Each red line here is an individual member of the ensemble plume. And you notice that very gradually, we've got the temperature anomalies on the side, dates on the bottom. Very gradually, the model, the ensemble plume, is going into moderate El Nino territory. So the thrust of the model, the main part of the plume, is in that sort of territory just there. Or maybe that's a little bit right. So let's correct that. It's around there up to around there. That's where the central part of the ensemble plume is forecasting things to go. And that, again, it's solidly sort of El Nino, moderate El Nino territory. Now, we have got a few ensemble members that are lifting up into Super Nino territory. That is this sort of area up here. That would be Super Nino territory very much along the lines of what happened in 2015, 2016. And interestingly, same as with CFS V2, there are a few outlier members that are keeping things in El Nino territory. Even one or two are going into La Nina territory down here. I do think we could discount La Nina for 2017, 2018. I think it'll either be ENSO neutral on the warmer side, or it will be an El Nino event. I'll be very, very surprised if we was to go back to La Nina. So again, CFS V2 and ECMWF very much in line with one another, forecasting a moderate El Nino to be in place by around the end of the summer and into the autumn. And then finally, we've got the Jamstech model, and that is very much in the same area as well. So this red line just here is the ensemble mean, and you can see that what's happening here is that it's lifting up. This is where we are right now. Again, we're in ENSO neutral territory. By the time you get through to summer, July, let's get rid of that. So by the time you get through to the summer, and we look at July there, we see that the model by that point is forecasting that will be in a weak El Nino state. And then as we go through the rest of the summer into the autumn, October just there, we find that we have gone up to moderate El Nino territory. And we keep things in moderate El Nino territory through to the end of the year. That's January 2018 just there, when we're beginning to drop back, as we always do, back towards ENSO neutral. Again, same as with the other two models, one or two members of the ensemble plume are lifting up into Super Nino territory. This area just here. One or two are actually keeping things at ENSO neutral. No sign of La Nina on any of these ensemble members, unlike what we saw with the E70F. But these ensemble members are keeping things very close towards ENSO neutral into the summer. So that's brought you up to date with what's going on, and what we can take from that is that at the moment the warm water that did gather pace at the start of the year in January and February in the East and Equatorial Pacific hasn't really progressed over the past month. So that's the first thing to take away. But over the past month, El Nino, the signal to go towards El Nino appears to have stalled a bit. However, the models are all still going for an El Nino event starting in the summer and then progressing into the autumn and then into the winter of 2017-2018. No sign of a Super Nino at this stage, so if you get concerned about big El Nino events, if they concern you in terms of what it's going to do to the planet's temperature, what it will do to the ice in the Arctic, and what it might mean for our fate in Europe for the winter of 2017-2018. If all of that kind of stuff concerns you, there's no sign that we're going to have a Super Nino yet. However, at this point in 2015, there wasn't much of a sign of a Super Nino either. So, very early days on that. As I said, we've got to get past the spring predictability barrier, and we'll know much more by around June, July. The models will firmly latch on to where things are going to go. But at the moment, yes, we've got the warm water in the East Equatorial Pacific. Hasn't really progressed over the past month, but it is still there. And the models still want to move things in the direction of El Nino, starting in the summer, then progressing into the rest of the year. I've gone on longer than normal, 27 minutes. I went off on a bit of a tangent at the start. Sorry about that. We'll do it all over again next month in April. We'll have a look at what's happening in the Equatorial Pacific Ocean then. Tomorrow we've got a very interesting update coming up tomorrow. It's the first season model roundup for the summer. We're going to be short of a few long-range models tomorrow, unfortunately. But there will still be plenty to be going on with, so we'll have a look at what the long-range models are predicting for the summer of 2017. We'll also have the gas service roundup, which is going to include solar activity, what's going on in terms of the Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, and the weather for the next few days as well. So come back for that. And there will be a little bit of a heads up about something that's going to be happening at Gazzovi's next month in that Sunday roundup. So watch out for that. It'll be a little bit of a hint about what we're going to be doing next month at Gazzovi's. So that'll be quite interesting. Right, that's all for now. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.